Why would one who can foresee the future try to obstruct it with his right arm? Could it be that that arm is controlled by the will of another, and not the Soul King? Very well. In that case, I will simply have to obliterate the both of you, king and arm.
Is Uryu an incarnated representative of Ryo's right arm and has the will of the Soul King? Let's talk about it. With Core 3 ending last year, we've received a lot of original content in the anime. Core 1, he learned about the war that took place 1,000 years ago between the Shinigami and Quincy. In Core 2, he fought against Senjumaru of Squad 0. Finally, in Core 3, Uryu killed her using his shrift and in complete holy form. So I want us to focus on two possible theories that I believe KUBO is hinting and leading up to. The first one, I believe Uryu has the will of the Soul King. In the second one, Uryu is the new guardian that governs stillness in the world of the living. But before we get into that, I want to introduce you guys to my friend who I have the honor of creating this video with, Phoenix Fujin. Go ahead and say what's up, my guy.
Yo, what's poppin'?
We've both finished the manga of Bleach. So just know, in this video, there will be spoilers ahead for the manga of Bleach, as well as the light novel Can't For Your Own World. And we will be using the name Mimihagi in reference as a fusion of both Ukitake and Mimihagi. And with that being said, let's go ahead and begin. As we look at the body of the Soul King, his left and right hand each have a different number of irises. I used to think they represented the past, present, future, and almighty. Now I feel it's past, future, power, and will. Now what do I mean by that? Gerard Valkyrie is the heart of Ryo. He has 0. Mimihagi has 1, and he has the ability to govern stillness. In Ukitake's case, his sickness wasn't cured, but it was stopped from becoming worse. Pernida has 2, having the ability to show past events of the Soul King and give life furthering advancement. Yhwach has 3 and Adonais has 4. Just as the body of Adonais was torn apart by the 5 great noble families and dispersed all over the world, I believe the will of Ryo was also dispersed and ended up inside of Uryu. Now what does it mean to have the will of the Soul King? Well, the will of Ryo isn't just one-dimensional. It can mean the being's most internalized desires projected, or it could be viewed as having the domino effect of their actions' existence, aka fruition of their actions. Everything that stems from their actions is their will.
Picking up from the point of Yhwach speaking to Mimitake, the question arises that if the will of Ryo doesn't reside within Mimihagi, then who else could potentially have this will? Who could Yhwach be talking to when he says, "Then I shall blow away both you and that right arm"? Originally, I believe that this line was directed at Adonais. However, seeing as how Yhwach absorbs him rather than blow away, it's implied he's speaking to Mimitake. This confirms that with Ukitake's poem at the end of episode 2 in Core 3, "I was once you, soon you will become me."
To elaborate further on the poem, Ukitake was once the right arm of the Soul King and was able to take his place, becoming a pseudo Soul King candidate. I was once you. Now, down in the Soul Society, we have Ukitake's body, enveloped in darkness with a ring forming around his back. Soon you will become me. So we know where Ukitake's body is, and we know that Mimihagi is going to take over Ukitake's body down in Soul Society, fulfilling the poem of "Soon you will become me." But this begs the question now, where is Ukitake? Well, let me explain. In a previous episode, we see a conversation with Ukitake and Unohana. There he mentions to her they will see each other soon. He's referring to the fact that in the future, he will see her in hell. Now, thanks to the hell arc, it's confirmed that Yamamoto, Ukitake, and Unohana are actually inside of hell. So this was a moment of foreshadowing. But in this arc, in the animated version, we now know that Ukitake and Mimihagi are switching roles. Mimihagi is now taking over the body of Ukitake, and Ukitake took control of the Mimihagi dark arm. This is why Yhwach said, "I shall blow away both you and that right arm." So if we know that's Mimitake, then where is the will of Ryo? If the will of the Soul King is to get rid of the Shinigami, then why block Yhwach, his son, with his own right hand? Well, simply put, Ryo's will resides elsewhere, and that's not Ryo's will.
Prior to my next point, I wanted to preface with saying that based off this information alone, the reoccurring theme of the heart within Bleach and Gerard's existence means Ryo's will wouldn't be where his physical heart is. Similarly to how Reishi has memories that stay dormant, Adonais' will was most compatible with Uryu and thus resides within him. To elaborate further on this, Ryo created the three worlds, and as a creator of what he's established, naturally would want to protect and preserve what exists. He protects Soul Society himself, while his will to protect what exists in the world of the living resides within Uryu. Seeing as how Uryu has experience not only working with the Shinigami, but teachings of Soken to protect the world they love, it makes sense that Ryo's will resides within Uryu.
The heart and the will, they both are different things, yet I believe there is a link through Uryu. In chapter 268, Kaien said that a heart is created whenever two people grow close. Now, to have the will of someone doesn't necessarily mean you have met them, but you carry on the same or similar dreams that they did. You see this in One Piece. Luffy and Roger haven't met, but yet Luffy carries on the same and similar dreams that he did, becoming the Pirate King. But yet in this case, it's different. Gerard being the heart of Ryo and Yhwach's conversation with Mimitake, this shows that the heart and will can be separated. Similarly, Fullbringers can grow attached to the things they love. In a way, they're making a heart, since we know everything in the verse of Bleach has a soul. With Uryu potentially having the will of Ryo, I believe that a bit of Ryo's soul resides inside. In a way, that's another person, and they created a heart between the contact that they've made. Uryu has a desire to protect his loved ones in the world of the living. Perhaps Adonais has a desire to keep the three worlds the way that they are, ultimately protecting the world of the living, just like Uryu.
Yeah, to add another layer to this, I believe the will of the Soul King was always inside of Uryu from birth based on how shrifts are given and received. As we know, both Yhwach and Uryu share the same letter, A. The former has the Almighty, and the latter has the Antithesis. Thanks to Club Outside's Q&A, we know every Quincy is born with a letter already engraved on their soul, and Yhwach bestows a power to them based on that letter, unlocking what's dormant within. Uryu quite literally has been put in dire situations with hollows, like Vasto Lord Ichigo and most notably Xyloporo, while not having dealt with the extremely toxic effect that we see every other Quincy go through when Hollow Reishi is involved. A couple of examples I can relate these circumstances to involve characters like Misaki with White and Kyuge and Ion in Wako Mundo. Since the Antithesis would essentially be a latent ability, it makes sense as to why he'd be able to survive these situations and show more durability to his soul, regardless of the toxic nature of Hollow Reishi to Quincy.
Based off this information alone, we believe Uryu having the will of Ryo is what makes him special. Adonais is a Quincy Shinigami Fullbring Hollow hybrid. That means if he has the will to protect what he's created, it only makes sense that he would entrust the world of the living to someone who is similar to him, that being Uryu Ishida, who is a Quincy, friends with Soul Reapers, and related to a Shinigami Quincy Hollow Fullbring hybrid. Perhaps Uryu having the will of Ryo turns the Hollow Reishi into non-Hollow Reishi, thus allowing his body to resist soul suicide. Uryu being the antithesis to the Almighty, we believe that Uryu is the will of Ryo. Yhwach is the power of Adonais. Yhwach is the other side of the coin to Yhwach, as he has the balance, able to be temporarily bestowed with the power of the Almighty. When you look at Adonais with the Almighty eyes, he has 4, yet Yhwach and Yhwach only have 3. Well, this is because they lack the will of Adonais. Thanks to the new content in the anime, we've also received this text of information.
This eye catcher gives a description of the torrent of Ryo's power. This phenomenon occurs when the power of the Soul King released from his seal is too much for Yhwach to contain and passes through his body and overflows. Appearing as a black murky current, it's actually a collection of spirits shaped like one-eyed babies. It attacks those it perceives as enemies like a tsunami, biting into them with its sharp fangs. There are various theories as to why it attacks Shinigami, including that it is a manifestation of an unconscious resentment towards the fact that the Soul King was once sealed away by a Shinigami, that the Soul King's true identity was a Quincy and he harbored a grudge against the Shinigami, and that Yhwach's will was mixed in with the torrent. Regarding the bit about the Soul King being sealed in the section of the translated theory, we got clarification from the Can't Fear Your Own World light novel. It stated that this wasn't a single Soul Reaper's doing, but the collective 5 great noble families that sealed Adonais away.
If we look through the lens of the unconscious resentment Ryo has against the Shinigami theory, that means Core 3 Episode 28 is the extension of Yhwach seeing the creation of the 3 worlds via the triplet world technique that Adonais used back in Core 2 Episode 24. In my eyes, this shows us that Pernida does have the ability of showing past events. I think Yhwach seeing the event also helps to show the grudge that he and Adonais have towards the Soul Reapers. It makes it understandable. Now, do you guys actually believe Yhwach was there for the creation of the 3 worlds? Or was it just Pernida showing him the events of the past? Let us know in the comments.
Taking the perspective that Mimihagi became Ukitake's will, it would make sense that Adonais' power became under the will of Yhwach after he absorbs him, thus ultimately attacking the Shinigami. Yhwach has the power of Adonais but not his will, while Uryu could have a portion of his power through the will of the Soul King himself. Now that we have further context, let's focus back on the connection between Uryu and how he's connected with the will of Ryo. The Mimihagi-like symbol appearing on Uryu's hand during his fight with Senjumaru represents that the will of the Soul King is always going to exist, thus a stagnant variable in the entire verse. That's not to confuse Uryu's thoughts with Ryo's thoughts, or even to say all of his actions aren't of his own. Despite him fighting Ichigo and letting Yhwach stomp the royal palace as he sees fit, his facial expressions and actions allude to not being all the way on board with Yhwach's plan. Almost like he truly wants to be able to fight alongside Soul Reapers, despite him saying otherwise. In order to understand their connection, let's start with the left hand of the Soul King, Pernida. We know Pernida has always associated himself with being a Quincy. Thanks to Can't Fear Your Own World, we know that the Quincy have a direct connection to the Soul King via Soul King fragments. Being able to create a weapon from Reishi is being able to make a weapon from seemingly nothing, utilizing one's surroundings. Resourceful, adaptive, and ever-advancing all perfectly describe Quincy, especially Pernida, literally representing advancement. Mimihagi, on the other hand, represents stagnation. We know that he has a connection to the Shinigami, and thanks to the anime original scenes, also has a connection to the Quincy. Mimihagi shares a connection in a similar vein as Uryu, having both aided the Shinigami in battle. Just as Mimitake's Kamikake ritual is another of the Soul Reaper's connection to Ryo, the Mimihagi eye over Uryu's chest during Senjumaru's Bankai, and the blue vein Mimihagi pattern on his right hand are all connections linked directly to Adonais. They even show the blue vein transition on Mimihagi in the opening, directly tying him to the Quincy. Due to this, we believe the evidence given supports our theory.
So let's give a small recap. Why do we believe Uryu has the will of the Soul King? Well, that's due to him being the most suitable Quincy. And second, why is Uryu the new guardian that governs stillness? Well, there's a few reasons for that as well. The first one is the Mimihagi-shaped eye on his chest after he escapes Senjumaru's Bankai. The second one is the red almighty eyes that we see him with after escaping the Bankai. And at the end of the fight, there's a Mimihagi-like symbol appearing on his right hand. Now, to drive this point home, there's a scripture that I want to read. and it's Matthew 6:3. It says, "Don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing." Now, we know that KUBO has taken inspiration from different cultures and different religions. The Thousand Year Blood War is taking after Christianity, and this makes sense. Yhwach represents the left side of the body, having the left hand of Reo, and Yhwach is not able to perceive the actions of Ananias and his body parts, especially the right side.
This cements the scripture even more. Mimihagi's placement is that of the right side, being the right arm of Reo. Furthermore, if you let your right hand in on what the left is doing, you won't be able to perform the progress you need, which is exactly what Yhwach's circumstance was. Picture two hands clasped together. You'll be unable to move freely. You can't advance if your right hand keeps you stagnated.
Oh, I like that. That's a great analogy, bro. For off the cuff, I just came up with that scripture and you threw that in. That's good. And sorry, guys, for the small rabbit trail. I just felt like it would tie into the theory and I just thought about it. So I said, you know what? Why not? All right, my bad. Go ahead and close us out.
Before we finish this theory video, we have 3 closing thoughts. And the first one is the Auswahlen flashback with Uryu and Katagiri. I noticed that no one was talking about this particular moment from the anime flashback, but you heard it here first. In this anime original scene, we see Katagiri's perspective of the Auswahlen event 9 years ago. Shortly after the Ishida family made falls, so does Uryu, and in the reflection of the rain's puddle is the Auswahlen ring in the sky, as well as a new strange object that appears. I genuinely believe that object is a Quincy bow and arrow. As we know, Katagiri doesn't pass immediately, but a few months after. Now, my questions are, whose bow and arrow appeared, and why was it drawn? Since at that moment, unlike Misaki, no one was in combat. Maybe it was from Yhwach or another Quincy in his ranks? After the Auswahlen event, the still silver coming from Katagiri basically shows why Yhwach couldn't do anything about the arrow, much like he can't see the events of things directly pertaining to the Soul King. The very Quincy Yhwach steals from constantly inevitably becomes his demise, even in their death.
Our second closing thought is foreshadowing Uryu's connection to the Soul King. Another way to view what the will of Ananias isn't simply Shinigami and Quincy fighting together, but also his will is to maintain the version of the 3 worlds. If we look back at the Soul Society arc, we're able to recontextualize Uryu when he performed the Let Steal. The bow and his wing appeared on his right side of his body and not the left side, showing that Uryu is a stagnant variable in the universe.
The final closing thought we'll leave you with is in reference to decisions made by characters. Reo may have chosen to create the 3 realms and may have had his body dismembered willingly in order to cooperate with the Soul Reapers, realizing that there will eventually and always inevitably be one Quincy to have the will to work with the Shinigami to maintain balance in the world rather than keeping everything stagnant. Everything just needed to line up first, like Uryu being a literal weapon against Yhwach, partially thanks to Soken sowing the seeds. Or it could be that he knew it was futile, and since various parts of his body were scattered, that every possible future led to the development of the Soul King candidates, essentially creating multiple artificial right hands in the case anyone disturbs the peace and balance of the universe.
That's gonna do it for this video, guys. Getting this video out late was not a part of the plan. When we were trying to get the chibi models done, we got scammed for our money and then time. Like, this was not supposed to be late. We wanted this to be a quality video and not just a throwaway. We hope you guys enjoyed our theory video. Phoenix, my good brother, thank you for being a part of this amazing conversation. Anything you'd like to say before we leave?
Yeah. Thank you all for watching and being patient while we got this out. I truly am proud of seeing this, as it's not only my first Bleach theory video, but it's also my first collab, and who better to do it with than my good brother Soul here. We really put our essence into this video, even though it took a while. The entire process was extremely fun. I would genuinely appreciate it if you shared, liked the video, left a comment, especially to our other Bleach theorists out there. that may just want to have a simple, fun discussion, this would go a long way in the algorithm. We'd really appreciate that.
I don't think anyone else thought of this angle of Uryu and the Soul King.
For sure. I really thought we had some close calls too, dog. Like,
Nah, man, because that's how much it actually took for us to get this video made. Like, you guys have no idea. But anyways, thank you for watching this video. We hope you guys like, comment, you subscribe, and go ahead and follow my brother Phoenix on his channel for he's going to be uploading his own Bleach videos and gaming stuff and whatever else he has planned over there. But just want to say, we will see you guys in our next collaboration, and I will see you guys in my next video. Because I'm working on another one currently, so until then, bye bye!